Oh, hello, and welcome to Shared Spaces. Shared Space. I don't know why I put that S on there that time, y'all. I am Laquita Chansey, the founder and director of Small to More Homes. We have the lovely Ashely Esposito today, and my brother from another mother, Chap O. Before we get into it with Ashley, Chap, say hi to the folks.
Hello, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for checking in. We are here with Miss Esposito. We are going to catch up on some education stuff going on. We have elections coming up. She is one of the candidates for this school board. She can break that down for us a little better. I don't want to misinform anybody, so I'll be brief on that. Um, Definitely want to say thank you to a Goj Project. They've been rocking and rolling on Sunday mornings. I didn't make the walk this week, Quita, forgive me, but Sunday mornings we also have the Walk with the Doc or Community Wellness Walk on Sundays at 9 a.m. at Lake Montebello. Shout out to Dayson and Mr. Hanif Hardy, both two of our friends who received a Weaver Award from M&T. Got a little boost in some capital there to continue the work they're doing. What else we got going on, Q?
We got a lot going on this week. I started working with Dent Education, and we are putting together their marketing for their Made at Dent cohort this year. So that's super exciting. What else is going on? Harvest Fest is coming up. That has to do with Nicola from Garden of Nicola and Atia from Backyard Base Camp. They're going to do some stuff at the end of the month. You can find all that information on Backyard Base Camp. What else is going on? You already mentioned the Wellness Walk tomorrow. Loyola and their Baltimorepreneur is having a meeting specifically for Black women. So if you have a venture that you want to start, pull up. We'll put the details in the comments. And I think I'm ready to hear from Ash. I'm ready to get into it. Like, I want to hear all about this whole run. Like, Ashley, let's go ahead and introduce you, madam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just want to say real quick, like, I love that y'all shouted out the Weaver Awards because I was one of the 2021 Weaver recipients and I got to be part of the selection process of this round.
Ooh.
And everybody that was picked is so dope. Like, I love, like, yeah, like the projects that they're working on are just like mind blown. Like,
Agreed.
I
yeah.
love it, right? I love how Baltimore brings those people out. Like, we need to find them. You kind of got to lift up a couple of rocks, but they're there, and there is no shortage of folks, okay?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so go ahead, Ash. We getting into you, though.
Okay. So, yeah, we had the primary on July 19th, and I was shook because there was 8 candidates. So I think I was one of 2 parents that was running. And in after the primary, like I'm sitting there hitting refresh because they couldn't count like mail-in ballots right away. So I was like stressed. But I ended up coming in first, which was
Yes.
yeah, and I was looking at the results. I was like, I do not know 26,000 people. So this is like blowing my brain. Like yeah, especially because there's such talented like educators in the race, like people that have worked on a state and national level. So I was like,
No,
yeah.
well, let me comment on that real quick. Is that they don't always know because educators have been running this school system in Baltimore into the ground, right? So they don't always know what we as parents or we as students need. So just to comment on that, like you don't need to be an educator to serve in this capacity for sure. In fact, it might hinder you because you think you know too dang much.
Hold
Yeah,
on, hold up. Let me go ahead and go in here and just go ahead and point it on out, because trying to ostracize you for not being an educator would be some colonizing mentality, right? Like, we need to understand that we need different minds in the rooms because great minds think differently, and that's what makes us better. And so Ashley, coming from completely different background, is going to bring completely new flavor. She doesn't understand the limitations that they thought that they had 20 years ago that don't even matter, and they still bringing it into the room today. All of that. So Bring all your Black girl magic back. And yes, it matters that you have kids, you are of the community, like you're enough. And we can't say that enough, right? So I just wanted to go ahead and highlight that because once again, you're enough. And that's why you got them votes. Boop.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because that's how I look at the work. Like, I mean, I think the last time we talked, I have learning differences, and so I don't think of things like within the normal constraints. And so even with processes, like I was an automation specialist for the state of Maryland for a long time, and a lot of that work is looking at like bottlenecks in processes and policies, but also when it's I can usually tell when somebody's left out, like when a policy is not going to include them and it's going to have a negative impact on them. And I think that that's kind of like the story that I tell, and I do a lot of listening. I do a lot more listening than I do um saying this policy is going to work, this is how this thing should be constructed. Like, I believe that the people are the subject matter experts of their experiences, and so I'm literally like running as a mouthpiece. Like, I don't have like my own my agenda, and my platform was literally developed by the community. So having conversations with people, when I found out from teachers that there is no exit interview for all these teachers that have quit the profession and left Baltimore City Public Schools, like, that to me is like valuable information and common sense.
But
Um,
but Ashley, so again, like even in the IT world, like how can you not have 360 reviews, like peer reviews, 360 up and down? Like, let me tell you about my boss because this top down thing, it's not really working for me. So let me tell you how this person can be improved, right? And then to your point, an exit interview, like y'all really, and that information isn't requested because they don't care. They don't care while people are leaving, and they don't care how your boss is treating you. Just get your job done and get it done on time. All right,
yeah,
Ash, back to you.
yeah, and like there's all these like breakdowns of communication that I see have a direct impact on the student and their participation in the classroom. So it's in everybody's best interest to like fix these things. And when I was talking to people recently, I told them that literally what I want to do, not only do I want to be a mouthpiece for people, but I want to model what it is, like what it looks like to have uncomfortable conversations and to lean into that discomfort and to create opportunities for the people that are harmed and the people that have the power to work together and to find a solution. Like, that is should be a regular practice. Like start, like find a solution, repeat, like do
Yeah,
that over again, and then you end up correcting the system as a whole. But
right.
you can't, the system's not serving anybody if we're not looking at the people that are most negatively impacted. Like
And you
that.
know what's annoying though? I think that to Chap's point, like the same people like systemically have kind of always been in charge. But then even when the new guards come in or the new reign comes in, it's like they want to keep the old man mentality. And it's like, no, don't do it the way you've always did it. Like we have to do it new because we got here. Like this where we are is a problem. So let's not keep doing this. And I don't understand why people don't get like the way you've been thinking been wrong. Like we
Yeah,
need to change it, right?
just me as a person, like the quickest way to make me start digging is to tell me that this is how the process has been done. Red
Right,
flags, red flags, red flags.
right.
Like, I will dig in to find out like
Then
ex-
this was designed for the 80% of the 80% of the 80%, and it's leaving out that 20% of the 20% of the 20%. Like y'all aren't thinking wholeheartedly. Somebody's being harmed here, and until we change it, it's gonna continue.
and there's no harm that comes from making sure that the most negatively impacted person's needs are served. Like, that's how we, like, I read, what was the book, How We Get Free.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically talking about that, like taking the most marginalized, the most person, and until that person's free, none of us are, and until
Right,
that person's needs are
Hmm.
served, none of our needs are served. Like,
right.
we
I
okay,
agree with that wholeheartedly.
yeah, yeah, because that's the one thing that has been like so disrespectful to some of the parents that I've talked to, is they say when they are trying to bring up issues, because their tone's not right, like they
They
get
fall on deaf ears.
have a seat at the table, or um they're told, well, that's just your case, and then they'll immediately follow up with like talking about all the good things that they're doing. And it's like that good things are great, but if you're not uplifting the people that have the most urgent need, like what are you doing?
Yeah, then it doesn't count for anything. Like you're lifting the first 5 pounds. Like it's another 100 behind you. What are you doing? Like stop cheering for that 5 pounds, bruh. Actually, like the crazy thing to me is that when people do think about the marginalized populations first, those that were initially prioritized feel like they're losing power.
Right.
It's like there's no power to lose. This is not a freaking pie. These are people's lives. Like, what are we talking about? We're not dividing the power. Like, that's not how this works. Resources need to be separated and not siloed. I don't understand that divisive mentality. So
Yeah.
it's just weird to me.
And there's definitely some like tough conversations that we have to have about the school choice process, because, you know, I've heard, and I know that's like, that might lose me votes, but I know for a fact that there's some parents who have told me, like, just nonchalantly about how they have worked back channels to ensure that their kids got what they need or gotten to the right school.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than the college. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just wild, because I think about like me, like what kind of kid I was in high school, you know, being in the foster care system when I graduated, and I wouldn't have had anybody to advocate for me or to fight for me. Like it was me, like me and my big mouth fighting for myself.
Right.
But yeah, it just shows like how people's trajectory in life is set based on which high school they get into in Baltimore City. And that's terrifying to me, because like even some of the schools that I visited, and they're like, we know we don't go to the best school, or go to a bad school. Like just imagine like just knowing at like your freshman year of high school that your life is basically jacked because you didn't get into the right school.
Right.
Yeah, and I keep telling these fools, like, well, I'm not a fool. Like you have to literally act like these kids future neighbors. So how do you want your future neighbors to come out of high school? Like how prepared do you want them to be? Like if you frame it that way, you should be okay with any group of kids out of any of these high schools not reaching the same potential as another high school.
Well, look, I'm glad you said that, because these are our future employees. These are our future apprentices for entrepreneurship. These are our future, definitely our future leaders, man. And if you're not pouring everything you can into them now to make sure that they're going to, you know, best serve the community and progress forward, then, you know, what are you doing? You know, I don't know. I'm looking up while we're talking. I'm looking up some stats on Baltimore City schools, and I'll tell you, because we're involved with the youth in the schools. We're in, you know, between like, you know, just doing all the outreach we do and partnering with different nonprofits and groups and stuff. Like I'm reading that last year there was only a dropout rate of 12% in Baltimore City, right? But I can tell you that working with these kids, there's definitely like just like a ballpark figure I would give you is like 30% of the kids ain't in school.
Right, it's passing them along or something.
Yeah, because I'm out here during the day, like, you know, 10, 11 o'clock, and kids are not in school. So maybe they're not dropping out on paper, right? So like, how is the reality compared to the data? How is the data being manipulated, right? Like, how is the information being misrepresented of the real situation? And that's why I think it's very valuable having someone like yourself who is, like I said, like you said, not necessarily a professional educator or a politician, or, you know, somebody who's about manipulating the data. You're someone who's about digging until you get down to the truth. What's really happening here, right? Because the numbers I'm seeing on, like, I'm looking at like BaltimoreCitySchools.org, and they have a data page, and all this information I'm reading is like incongruent with my personal experience out on the street in Baltimore City right now. It doesn't line up.
Yeah, and also it's lumping all schools together. So imagine if you chunk that out by school. by high school.
There's no reason that Roland Park School should be compared with West Baltimore School. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that average is like, how broad is that range, first of all? Like, that's what I would want to know. And
Right.
and
How many private schools are included? How many, you know what I mean? Like, something is skewed because that's wrong. Like, quite frankly, Baltimore Public Schools has like a passing rate and has had a passing rate of like 50%. So
yeah. And it's just it's so crazy because like in the second part of the race, like what I really wanted to focus on was showing what I would do in the job, like
mhm.
type of like school board member I would be. And so some of the things I've been doing is like, for myself and just knowing of scenarios that parents have told me about. I've been calling the school system, like trying to navigate, find information as if I don't know the quickest
Right,
way to.
how to navigate, right.
Yeah. So that's
Are you
heavily.
going to be helpful? Are you going to be a freaking bee? And this is information that you should be sharing with me, but yet you're making me feel like I'm the jerk because I'm asking you for the information. Like,
Yeah.
how accessible is it? Right.
And so that's what's been very telling is like one at the central office, first of all, like on a school level, there's been a lot of conversations that I've had where I can tell that the principal doesn't always have all the information and doesn't feel fully supported. And then two, people at North Ave
Ooh,
aren't
let's
really trained, so they don't even know how to source all the information. And then three, this is like my pet peeve right now. The website, there are so many links on the website that are broken, and I provided that list to the school system and I said, hey, these
fix it.
are the links that are broken. Immediately the person that I dealt with called it erroneous, said that I was referring to the school system in the wrong way. And I'm like, first of all,
A link is a link. What do you mean?
yeah,
What?
but
Well,
also
look,
I'm somebody from the public. Like, why are you talking to me like that?
Right. Are you going to be a jerk?
mm,
Right. You're
and I,
Yeah.
talking
let me
to me like
let me
I have
comment
no
too.
agency in anything and that I don't know how to click a damn link. It's a
Yeah,
link.
and I literally had to record a video showing that proving the links were broken.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
Well, can
just,
you imagine if that were an
I'm,
emergency and not just an investigative study that you did upon yourself? Like, how
Hmm.
frustrating. And then that would be causing more
And
trauma
then
and
what
more.
happens is when you call to get help, they do talk to you like that. Let me make that clear. Absolutely, like you're a dummy, like you did something wrong. Your
right.
stuff
Almost
ain't
like
working.
intentionally like interrogating. Like, it's
Hmm.
interrogating, it's agitating. Like, you expect me to be nice and hunky-dory and you talk to me like I'm an idiot, but you're supposed to have the information. So just give me the damn information.
Yeah,
Let me.
or say, be polite and say, I don't know. Can I get back to you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That
Let me comment on something you said. Let me comment on something you said because you said that principals don't feel supported, right? I'm gonna share an example with you, and I won't be specific, not to embarrass anybody. But I was volunteering at a school in Southwest that closed last year. Was their last year? So there's like we're closing like schools, 3 schools a year, 3 to 5 schools every year, Baltimore City,
right.
and just low key so people understand the context. Where do you go to vote usually, right?
Yes.
So it's a form of voter suppression on top of all the other politics involved. But let me say that when they were closing the school, I was volunteering. I'm saying, well, this is dumb. Like, why are we closing the school? I asked the principal. I said, well, what's the appeal process? And she said, I don't know. There is no appeal process. 200 North Ave said there's nothing we can do about it. And I was like, I think you're misinformed. There is an appeal process. Who's your PTA person? We don't have a PTA. So we can't put everything on the principal. She needs the support of the community. We need parents to step up, right? But if you don't have a PTA and you're a principal and you're just bearing all the weight of 200 North Ave and the kids aren't really, there's no like school pride like there used to be. And why would there be? You're closing my school next year. What do I care?
Right.
And
And
with
giving it
all
a
the
random
changes,
number.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so I understand the principal's not feeling supported. And my thing is, what can we do, right? Because I know you were, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but you were working on another school closing, right?
Yep.
So you're gonna share with us about that because we're closing these schools and it is like
Right.
destroying morale. It's destroying our children, man. So please, like, share about that a little bit.
Well, first of all, as a community member, like the first time I became aware that like there was a weird thing with the enrollment numbers is when our principal was given a directive to boost enrollment numbers. And she was like a new principal, like, our school had some issues prior and stuff. So I get it, but but to have like school closure be a possibility was wild to me. So yeah, I'm helping Stewart Hill Academy, and part of the
Sure.
part of the problem with the permanent school closure process is the principal is one of the last people to know. So when it's presented to them, it's almost presented as if it's a done deal. So
Mhm.
the CEO makes the decision, the legislators are contacted, the principal, I think the principal might, they're told it's a done deal. It's framed that way. It's not like here's an appeal process, or hey, how about North Ave create an intensive support system to prevent permanent school closure,
Which
right?
there is an
Right.
appeal process, right? Let's be clear.
Well, they shouldn't have to go through the appeal process. I'm
Okay.
trying to them even getting there in the
Gotcha. Okay.
because
All right.
we're talking about a school system that has historically disinvested. The metrics that they use to decide what schools should be closed are
Ridiculous.
always going to impact the smaller community schools. So not only are like you said, they're contributing to voter suppression. I said that at my testimony because, like, for my neighborhood, that's our polling place, that's our community hub. Like, I
Right.
mean, it could be more of a community hub, but like we're trying to get our stuff together in the community.
Right, but
But
you got to start somewhere. Don't let me start with a damn one of these 15,000 vacant lots, okay?
but also one important thing to note is that a lot of these schools, I remember during the blueprint when they were fighting for it to pass, there were people in the community that loaded up on buses to go testify in order to get the blueprint passed. So
Right.
some of these schools that are closing, the justification for their closure is literally things that the blueprint would fix. So to
Well,
close them prematurely means that there are schools that are going to get an influx of funding that should have gone to those schools.
Right.
so let
So,
me let
oh,
me let me share so here's my experience at the school I was at, and like yourself, like trying to dig down and dig in and like what's going on here. So this is my experience that I discovered that maybe people don't know. So I'm volunteering at a school. They announce the school is closing. No one knows, like, like you said, they just assume that there's nothing they can do about it, right? So we dig a little further and we said, well, why is the school closing? We don't. So somewhere in legislation and policy, it says you have to student population has to occupy a certain percentage
yeah. The,
of the property, right? So the school I was at used to be a 6 through 12, and they took the middle schoolers and they moved them to a new 21st century school because they built this 21st century school that no one asked for, that wasn't needed because they didn't want to invest some money in the infrastructure already existing. So whoever came in and lobbied for the contractors, they got a new contract, built a brand new school, but they didn't have enough students to justify building it. So they took students from the school they knew they wanted to close, moved them over here. Once they moved them, then they said, oh, you don't have enough student population here. We have to close you. And so all these things are in play when like, it's not just, there's all these different manipulations. And the more you dig, the more like in circles you run. So like you're closing the school because there's not enough kids going there, but you moved the kids in the first place to
Right.
justify opening a school that didn't have
Systemically,
enough
it's
kids to open
intentional.
a school. And it's
Right.
just, I feel like
yeah.
it's Alice
Systemically,
in
it's
Wonderland. You're just
intentional.
going
Like
to,
they thought it through, like, well, if we put this in play, then this domino will fall. Well, then that domino will
right.
fall, and then the school closes. So now this is process and procedure.
And
So
see, it's
yeah.
frustrating from a community perspective because I've literally gotten emails from people that say, "Hey, love your neighborhood." Like people that are home buyers that want to buy homes in Baltimore City and say, "Hey, I like your neighborhood. I love that it's close to the MARC train, all this stuff, but there's no good high school close by. They either got to go to Northwest or Northeast, whatever." And so it's like a chicken or the egg thing. Like,
Man, you're
are
just
the
taking your
schools
work with you.
closing, are they impacting the population growth,
Yes.
or are like, because they're saying they're closing it because the population issue and it's not equally spread. No, I think that you guys are actually creating the problem that you're running from. And then also, like you said, like they do not place value on the history that exists in those schools.
Oh
For
my God,
families that have gone to those schools for generations, the 21st century school is new. And so
dude.
so when I hear that, like, even Senator Carter, I think that they had to fight to keep that school open that was in her father's name.
Let me
And it's
comment on that, man, because like back in the day in the 90s, like what school you go to like meant something, right?
right.
And as I engage the community more, and me and Quita, we're building the tribe and building relationships, and I'm meeting like generations that are older than me that are like handing us the torch, right? And I'm like, man, where'd you go to high school? They're naming schools I never heard of.
that
and they
don't
have so much pride in it, but like there's no value and there's no tradition and there's no like no one's honoring like this, like you said, the schools, right? Like there should be a tradition, there should be legacy. And
yeah.
unless it's city or poly, unless it's Western, we're just tearing them down like they ain't nothing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
And
trying
it's
not to cuss on the show, but
yeah.
it's like there's really no respect or value for the legacies left behind. You know, like Dunbar, you'll never
Right.
see that one close, right? But like
Nope.
the other schools, like they got schools now. Like people, I'll ask the kids now where you go to school. They're like, ah, blah blah blah. I'm like, where in the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like you're it drives me insane because I see like the bigger picture, like that how hard it's going to make it like in the future, because even the 21st century schools are not the answer. Like I think I
And
saw
yeah,
last that some of them, they did not get the work that they paid for, first of all.
no.
So not only
These
Schools,
brand new schools are falling apart.
first of all, the schools are built by the damn stadium authority or something. Like it doesn't make any sense the way the schools are ran. And then these schools are built with no maintenance plan. Like
And
the maintenance.
no accountability either.
But we live in Baltimore where winters are bad. Like if you don't have a maintenance plan, your roof is going to be terrible. And if you do nothing,
I'm telling you, look, I was working for the city.
I just don't understand.
No, you're nailing it. I was like literally, I was working at the city at PS 228, John Rower and Southeast. Brand new school, just opened back up. The rain destroyed the roof. Roof is like right in front of the school, right at the entrance. The roof is falling apart. Over in the rec center that's built into it, every time it rains, the water pours in. I mean, like inches of rainwater pours into the rec. You got to close it down.
Mhm.
There's just all these things, and and for instance, there's spaces that we're supposed to be able to secure because we have valuable things in the rec center that doors were not ordered or installed, and it's like, who do you call? Well, you call this guy, and he's been moved over here. So then you call the next guy, and he's only there for a couple months, and then like there's no accountability. There's no way to track and get like work orders done. There's like these buildings suck. There's no way they pass inspection. I'm a construction guy,
Yeah.
and there's no one to hold accountable for it.
Right.
And that's what's interesting about Stewart Hill is that like they wanted to do their own independent inspection and were told no. But it's funny to me because some of the structural like justifications for the closure, some of the popular schools, the cities, the polys, they have
Like
these
the same
yeah, but
structural
they
issues.
will throw money and put like show where their priorities are. But for these smaller like community schools, like they're showing that certain neighborhoods, certain, I know I live in the lowest voting district in the city, and people treat us as such,
Right.
so so
We
when
have
we're
no
trying to,
social capital, sis. They don't care.
it's just really frustrating, and I'm hoping that, you know, I do understand like that some of the policies are set at a state level. And one of the things that I do have experience with is the General Assembly. So I do plan on looking at that utilization rate that you're talking about and working with my delegate to see if it can be modified for Baltimore City, because like I said, there's historic disinvestment. So I don't believe that they should have the same metrics as a Howard County or a Montgomery County. Like that just
Absolutely
doesn't make
should not.
sense.
That's not equitable. Y'all need to pay it back. Like, where the reparations for the babies?
And also put a halt on all these permanent school closures, because one, a school should have never been closed during the pandemic, and then
Ooh.
two, no school should have been closed before the blueprint was fully realized.
Right. Right.
So I got a question for you, Ashley. Why are you so invested in my city? Where are you from, Baltimore?
No,
Okay.
I was born outside of Boston, like, and then I
Okay.
lived in Arizona, Germany. I graduated from high school in Delaware, but my husband's
Where did
from
you
here.
cultivate this love for Baltimore for our kids here?
I mean, I lived in the county before I moved here in 2016, but I lived in the county, and I don't know. I just like was always here. My sister was in the art scene. Like even though we didn't sleep here, like we were here like all the time. Like we might as well have slept here. And I don't know. Like I don't know what it is, but I do have like a deep love. Like I've lived in a bunch of different areas, but this is the place that feels like home to me. And
Yes, Baltimore is so welcoming.
Yeah. And I know another kid, Salima Jasani, said the same thing because she was born out of the country, and like people were asking about her identity, and saying, well, you're not from here, and she's like, yeah, I'm not from this country, like, but
Right.
to me, Baltimore is home. And
Right.
she has this cool picture of like her wedding henna, and she actually has the Baltimore skyline incorporated in it and stuff
I
for her.
love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But I think that there's a lot of us here like that, and I understand the hesitation of folks that are, generations have been here, like, because they've been like played by a lot of people that come in acting like they have good intentions and then doing some foolishness and not centering themselves instead of centering the people that are from here and allowing them to speak for themselves instead of
Right.
assessing on Baltimore.
Right.
Oh, but I do think that there's like good people here that just happen to have ended up here.
Yeah.
But I understand the skepticism, and I take it. Like, I mean, I'll answer to it and
Yeah,
earn.
no skepticism. I just because like Quita's like certified Baltimore, but she's from New York, and like I'm from Baltimore. I love to hate New York, right? But like this is my sister, this is my twin spirit out here, man. So like, so understand that. I understand that there's people that are not from here that passionately care about the culture and community here, and
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
but
that's why
it
I asked,
reminds.
because it's very intentional. You could have gone back to Massachusetts, you could have gone anywhere else with your education and your passion, but something made you stay here, right? And somebody in your life led you to this place, right? Like you're emulating someone who invested in you. I don't know if you know who that is or you want to share, but I know that it's more
Who
than
it is.
just
So one of the people that I always talk about, like, it's I'm not an organizer, like a professional organizer, but I took an organizing training with John Comer. He runs Architects of Justice in Cherry Hill, and that experience was like life changing for me because it really like spoke to me, he reminded me so much of people that I had known in like other states that were
Yeah.
really rooted in community work. And so, yeah, like that's somebody that's inspired me, but also people that I just like vibed with since I've been here. People that I met like volunteering in Sandtown, like way back when, and like all those people I'm still in touch with, and we're still finding ways to like support each other's work. And I think me and my husband were talking about this before I came up here to do this, but a lot of the stuff that I never did it with the intention of running. Like,
Right.
or people had said I should run for something before, and I'm like, no, no. Um,
somebody's gonna do it. It ain't gonna be me. It ain't gonna be her.
but in this moment, because I chose Baltimore when we decided to have a family, like when we were buying our first home, we chose to come here. We knew we wanted to come here, and
Mhm.
so for me, like in this moment, in this time, like with my son being his age and knowing that he's got his whole entire like uh, Baltimore City public school experience ahead of him,
Mhm.
I felt like I was equipped and and had the mama bear energy to get up in there and like do what I
Mess stuff up. Yep.
yeah, not just for my son, but like I told other people, I kind of tie his outcome to every kid's outcome. Like
Right.
for other moms out there and parents, like if your kid's not doing okay, I want to be that person that you can easily contact and say, hey, this is what's happening with my kid, and uplift that and make sure that that is a focus. Because
Right.
right now, like I don't feel like we have a direct line of communication into the school board.
Yeah. I
Man.
agree. I
Well,
agree.
hey, just so you know, I know you like to inspect and keep people's title on their websites. The architectsofjustice.com is not loading currently, so got to check in on
Oh,
them. Their website's not coming up, but yeah.
John. Well,
So wait, tell me more about that. Did
Yeah,
you
like
live in Cherry Hill? I thought you lived in Laurelville. What's
oh,
tell
I
where?
live in Violetville.
Oh, Validville. Okay.
Yeah. So I've always been, I'm just somebody that's like into stuff. Like I like meeting new people and stuff, and I like volunteering. That's like something that I'm really
That's how
passionate.
we met. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were borrowing tools at the tool
Yeah.
bank, and Noah kept trying to introduce. Yeah,
Yeah.
great stuff. But what were you doing in Cherry Hill? How did that happen?
I
Because
had been in
I'm
Cherry.
also very
Yeah.
interested in this program. Just to
Yeah, so I had seen it, like I'd been to Cherry Hill, like we had friends that lived there and stuff, and I always liked it, like how, like, I don't know, I just have always liked Cherry Hill and Brooklyn and all those places, and
Right.
probably because we're in the same district. But yeah, I saw that there was a training, and so I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I'm curious about it because it said something about bias training. It said something about advocacy. So it named like all these things that I'm like passionate about, but didn't necessarily, I'm not an expert in. I've just always
Right.
had a big mouth. And
But also, Ashely, you are an expert because of your uniqueness, your makeup. Like, we are not white men, and that's who this is all made for. And we know how to navigate. Chat, it was made for you, bruh, but we know how to navigate in this world.
Hey,
That's why we are
it
skilled
failed me
enough to
too.
speak on
It
it.
failed me too. Look, if y'all want to know my history, so I got kicked out of schools. I got bounced around schools so much that a lot of credits didn't transfer, right? And so like certain schools accepted this and not that. So I was my senior year, I'm going to night school, I'm going to summer school. I'm really trying to finish it out. And I wasn't going to graduate my senior year. I knew that. So I think my senior year I went to school like maybe 60 days all year, maybe. I wasn't a bad kid, but the school system failed me. So my guidance counselor, who I'm ashamed to say I don't remember her name, but she caught me in school one day, and I was doing. I don't know. I showed up for lunch to hang out and do some business, and she caught me and she pulled me in her office and she said, "Look here, blah blah blah." She knew, she saw something in me I didn't see in myself. She saw the system failing me. She saw me trying and like giving up. So she hand wrote me a diploma, like scratch my name off a list, or like she had a list of like in red ink of like all the kids not graduating that year, senior class. Scratch my name off the list, hand wrote me a diploma, and told me this is like February or like I think every time I tell the story it's a month earlier, but honestly it was like April. But I think I'm back to like February, January now, but it's in April. She said, "Don't come back or you'll be trespassing. You're a graduate now." And I'm like 17. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. And it's a very unique situation, but honestly, the school system failed me. And if it wasn't for her giving me that piece of paper, man, I'd probably still be struggling to get my GED because that is a difficult task to
So
navigate,
run this
man.
back. Help me. Was this counselor black or white?
I was a white woman.
So again, the world is made for you, Chapo. So I don't know that we would have gotten those same, you know what I'm saying. So Ash, that's why without training, the cultural bias, all of it, like you are skilled to talk about it because we experience it every day.
Yeah, and it's funny because like so I'm an Afro-Indigenous person. So I have like native roots and all types of stuff. And there's a book that I was doing a book club with my friends, and the book is The Racial Contract, and it talks about like the time during colonizing, like when they saw indigenous folks living communally and not living in like a hierarchical structure,
Right.
and
Yes.
almost like viewed like, oh, this is wrecked, so we must fix it. And it was almost like now people are trying to get back to that
To
and
Quita's point, like, did you ask anybody if it needed fixed? She
right.
always reminds us of that. Like, who asked you?
Right. Like you coming in here talk about, oh, your hair looks, who asked you about my hair?
Yeah,
Nobody.
don't
Like,
ascend on people. I have to keep coaching people about that. You do not
same.
ascend on communities that you do not belong to. They are like, let the people do their own thing. Like I can't stand that when people say, "Oh, we must go organize these people."
They're
It's like,
doing
no,
it
they can.
wrong. They don't
Yeah,
know. No, they
no, no.
know. They know
They,
exactly what they need. And if they're not getting the resources, I bet you if you just ask them a question, they can answer you. And it might be short term because that's what's on their mind now, but they can answer all, what do we need today? What do we need 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ago? Like they know, like stop.
yeah, and it's very telling is when you ask those same people that want to organize people to give up some of their own power for the
And they
greater
won't.
good. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, because they know the system, like certain
Right.
things in the system are meant to uplift or create pathways for certain people.
Right. They were never
Some
doing it
people
for
are not. Yeah,
community development. They were doing it to control the population. Like
yeah,
there's a difference.
it's a
So we're
lot.
before the show, right before the show, we were talking with Ashely, and she was sharing, just this very interesting and positive and encouraging and inspiring vibe. So I'll ask the question while we're on the show is like, if you don't get elected into this position to serve, like, who do you want in your place? right? Because like it wasn't a negative competition. It wasn't like nobody was trashing anybody, like you shared in the group that we saw make the final cut. The four of you actually support each other, and you look forward to one of you getting it. So like if it wasn't you who takes a position, if it was you, then you've already kind of shared like the other three have your back. But if not you, then who do you think is best suited to serve?
Honestly, like, okay, so Salima Jasani, there's a like we ended up running together. Like we made a decision at some point together because we're so aligned, but also she applied for the appointment process, right? And she is probably the most qualified person to be on the school board. Like she works at a national level helping other school boards fix the disproportionality in their process and in their policies, literally. Like all day, every day. And so she wants to do that same work here for free, because that's like her
Right.
job.
That's what I was about to say. If she's not picked, I need to hire her, but go ahead.
Right. And it's so crazy to me, like the work that she's done, like around the school to prison pipeline, when it comes to, me and Salima are both members of the disability community. So as far as we know, like either one of us would be the first open person from the disability community to serve on the school board from that
Right.
lens.
Right.
So yeah, like there's just so much that she would bring, and I feel like she would do what I would do on the school board. Like she would do it justice, like because
Mhm.
for where she is in policy, I'm kind of her lived experience
Right.
and kind of where we complement each other. So ideally it would be great to have both of us, but if I did not get elected, I would absolutely trust her 100% to do the work that I want to do.
So these positions are not. There's no salary associated to it.
No, mm-mm.
Ain't that a bitch?
Well, that's what's funny. Like we passed a bill last year that would have created a commission to study compensation, because I do believe that not having compensation is a barrier to certain communities' participation. First of all, like, because I
Your
mean,
time is valuable. Your experience, your knowledge, everything you're talking about bringing to the table absolutely has value.
yeah, but also for families that might need childcare. Say there's somebody that's brilliant, has multiple kids in the school system, but just needs daycare. Like
Right. Who's
you
going
have
to take
to,
all of their kids to all of these meetings?
yeah, a lot of nonprofit boards or like boards and councils tend to be like a certain demographic because you have to have the means to do something for free, right? So
Hmm.
so I think that's very important. I think even compensating the student member of the board is really
Yeah.
important, like with a
Yeah.
stipend, scholarship. And like unfortunately that bill was passed, but the governor decided he wanted to veto it because he hates Baltimore. So yeah. So we're
Yeah.
actually gonna introduce it again. And so Senator Carter and Delegate Wells are going to introduce it. And so there's going to be a big organizing push around it. And so hopefully people will come out and,
Hmm.
write testimony, stay in touch with us, because we really want the whole bill, the bill as it's written by the community, to pass.
And how do we plug? So all these things you're involved with, and all these things you're doing. The keep preventing this one school from closing, the Stewart Hill, and this bill you're talking about, and even plugging in with you. Even if you don't get elected, another lady does. You know her, so if I can't get to her, I'm gonna call you. How do people stay in touch? What's good? Like how do we stay in touch and keep abreast of what's going on? Some initiatives you have going on, because it seems like really good stuff and things that we should be informed about that if we're not digging and intentionally looking, we don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely somebody that's very heavy on social media. So, what is my social media? Esposito for Baltimore on Instagram, and then it's Ashely Esposito _ on Twitter. So I'm gonna be. I like to use all forms of communication possible, because I understand like people digest their information differently. So I have a mailing list for folks that aren't on social media. So if you go to ashleyesposito.com and subscribe, because the people that are subscribing to the mailing list, I also look at them as like my circle of accountability. And so like one of the questions when you subscribe to the newsletter is like, what neighborhood are you in? So, there's ways for me to target and say, hey, these folks in this area, I know this is very relevant to them. So outreach or do outreach to them individually, make sure that they're aware that something's happening. So yeah, the mailing list, any social media. My email is espositoforboard@gmail.com. You can email me anytime. I'll get back to you. I also have, if you email me on there and want to set up a meeting, like I have a whole calendar situation where we can chat. Yeah, I want all the communication, because like I said, like the platform, everything that I'm going to do is based on what the community wants. Like the community is literally setting the agenda for me.
And that's the way community development should be. Like, people are so excited about human-centered design, and I
Yeah.
feel like design should have always been human-centered. Like, why did we move away from that? Like, y'all just out here making stuff and going to the moon, and don't nobody want to go there. Like, we need to fix what's right here on Earth, y'all. Like, it just
Yeah.
Hello.
And I've had to tell so many city agencies that I've like worked with through like task forces or like little work groups, you do not have to get buy-in from the community once a project is done if the community is a part of developing the project.
Right.
right,
Thank you.
right. But they would have been there the entire time. Like,
It's
duh.
real. That's real simple, and you think it's common sense, but it's not so common. Like when we do stuff, we engage. If we're doing stuff for the youth, with the youth, we engage the youth, to the point where they're like even something simple, like when we set up one of Quita's micro shelters at Making Good in the Community Park, and all the kids came over to see this little tiny home, and they're like, "What's this? Oh my goodness!" And it's beautiful and it's painted, and just had to do something simple, like put a couple locks on and straighten out a door, and just have my drill out. And there was like 12 kids, so I let each of them put a screw in the thing, like real simple. They took the drill, they put a screw in, and something simple like that. They were a part of putting that in place, and so they had a certain sense of pride about it, right? And so like, it weren't going to let people mess with it, and it was just real simple. Like it's so simple. Yes, like involve the community, like let the community let them drive, let them
Yep.
put some skin in the game. Absolutely.
Guys, I have this issue, not even this issue, but it's so interesting. Like, you all know I work with the unhoused population, or people experiencing housing insecurity. And often people are like, well, who's going to manage the homes, and who's going to make sure that, and I understand, like, there are some folks who are unhoused who are dealing with mental illness, but in most cases people are just broke and we need more jobs. Like, we need more money, you know what I mean? So my thing is, please don't come to me and pretend like these people haven't lived all of their lives and made it this far without some sort of manager. Like, I don't need to be a manager. Stop treating adults like children because we think we know best. Like, that, it's just, let folks live the way that they need to live and exist the way that they need to exist. Like, the thing that drives me crazy is that so many people are struggling to survive, that we think that they can behave in like a thrive mentality. Like, you can't think past all the barriers that are in your way. And I don't believe that the people that are often making these decisions even consider that, right? Like,
And it's also wasteful. You know, they pour all this time and money and resources into these great projects, and then they get frustrated at the end of it when they're like, "Oh, well, the people don't want it. Like, they're not engaging." And it's like, yeah, because you literally could have crafted something better, got more for your buck, and more buy-in, and also have it grow beyond what you expected.
right, by just having a conversation.
Yep.
And look, I'm gonna say that if you just start something and you involve the community, they take over, right? Like I've experienced this before, where like I don't like, not to say I don't know what I'm doing out here, but I've served in the community for a long time in different capacities, and I wear a lot of different hats. And sometimes I joke and say I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it to the best of my ability. Whatever's in front of me, I keep it moving. What happens is I might not have the bigger picture, right? But when you start doing something, the people get involved. You start building relationships, and it builds itself, and the momentum takes over. And like the walk with the doc probably had a very specific intention when they started, but it's evolved into this really beautiful community walk that is probably not exactly what Hopkins thought it would be, but it's better.
So
Yeah.
much better. so
Yeah,
much.
I'm going to come out to one of those.
Come out one day, someday, Ash. We'll be out there until December 11th, as long as the sky is clear. But also, we're doing, we're gonna do a health and wellness fair, the end of October. I
Oh,
want to.
nice.
I'll make sure I get the right date. But we're doing
I'm,
a health and wellness fair. I lied. It's in November. We're doing one in November and December. But yeah, so yes, Walk with the Doc has turned to Project Healthy Communities. I'm going to start doing some stuff in West Baltimore. We might take a walk over there around the Harlem Park area.
yeah, they got a nice garden over there too.
Yes, they have so many nice things over there. As a matter of
Mhm.
fact, we're probably going to do a shelter installation over there sometime around Veterans Day, maybe. I
Okay.
have to, coordinate with all the people. But yes, all these things, Ash.
Ash,
Go ahead,
so
Chad.
look, we got 5 minutes. Ashely Esposito. We're voting on November 8th. All
Yay.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And
I
vote for
appreciate your time.
votes. You get
Say
2
again?
votes. Oh, I said everybody gets to cast 2 votes. So vote for me,
Oh,
Melina Jasani.
Oh,
all right,
really?
all
Oh,
right, all
so
right.
Ash, do you know what this
And
what
I'm still stuck. Like I know we only got 5 minutes. I'm still stuck on because I've served in the capacity of volunteer for Baltimore City in the schools, in the rec centers, in the detention centers, juvenile justice department, and with the police department for I don't know 10 years now, and they always want something for nothing. Like I'm still stuck that they're not paying you guys for your
Yeah.
experience and your time. Like that's unheard of. But we do value and appreciate you. So whatever you need, whether you make it or not, whatever you need to keep doing the work you're doing, we got you. Appreciate you for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to know about one of the comments. Do you know anything about question K?
Yeah. So that's okay. So here's my take on question K. First of all, vote. Yeah. Do not vote for question. It sets a bad precedent because first of all, it was bankrolled by Sinclair. That's should be enough. Because I mean it's kind of like a slippery slope because that means that they create like a blueprint to just meddle in all of our policies without actually getting somebody elected. Like that's even more dangerous to me, right? Because like that would just disrupt any type of progress that we could potentially make.
Right. It's like the veto
So,
can come in.
yeah, also as it's written, like it could be misinterpreted or manipulated in a way to prevent people that do have like knowledge from moving into other positions
Mm-hmm.
because I personally I do believe in term limits 100%, like,
Right. Agreed.
yeah. But also I have a problem with them only focusing on Baltimore City. Like if we're going to do a term limit thing, do it statewide. Like don't just pinpoint Baltimore City and say, hey, once again we're going to meddle, y'all can't have nice things, let's hold y'all down underwater. Like I see a lot of issues with it, and I
Okay.
think that if we're going to do term limits, do it statewide. But they won't do that because it's just about trolling Baltimore.
Baltimore. It's just about controlling Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like let's be real.
No.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us again, Ashely.
Yeah.
Chap, do you have any closing remarks?
Join us. Anytime you see us out in the community or you see us posting something, please support, please join us. Definitely for the wellness walk. That's church, y'all. You just don't know.
Yeah,
And
it
we'll
is
get you
so
out. We'll
good.
get you out in time for 11 o'clock service. Okay.
It is so good. Like it is a safe space made
Mhm.
by Black women for Black women, but everybody's invited. Like
It's
no
for
one's
everybody.
excluded.
Yeah. Look, there's a
No one's
vibe. There's a
excluded. But
vibe.
we
But look,
needed this. We needed it. To be clear, we did it because we
okay.
needed it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, it's a
but
privilege to be in that space for sure,
everybody is
y'all.
welcome.
And then if you really want to get it in, check out Agogi Project.
Yes.
We're gonna have them on next Monday. But
Yep.
it's a new gym in Bel Air Edison, 3205 Bel Air Road. We have a beginner's jiu-jitsu class. We do at 8 a.m. before the walk. They have boxing and martial arts for the kids Monday to Thursday. Like I said, we'll have that information next week. But that's all I'm focused on right now.
Yes.
How
Good
about you?
stuff. No, I don't have anything. We will be back Mondays at 7, same bat time, same bat channel.
We do
Go
have a
ahead.
day we do have a day of action on Saturday, so we are gonna do like a last hurrah, like canvas situation. And also, if you want a yard sign, go to the website or hit us up. Yeah, because it's really hard to get the word out because it's citywide. So we
Right.
can't.
I
Check her on her
appreciate
IG,
you,
y'all.
Ash.
Esposito for Baltimore.
Yep. Y'all stay tuned for Robert Report. Bye.